I would like to welcome everybody one more time to today's webinar. My name is Soheila, and today I'm going to help you with IELTS Writing Task 2. We are going to work on discussion essays. So you know that in the IELTS test we have different types of essays, right? So today we will be focusing on discussion essays, and the theme of the lesson would be about economics. So are you guys ready to get started? Yes. Okay, perfect. So let's do it. First, let's see what the aims of today's webinar would be. First, we will learn how to understand the question. We will plan the essay using a simple structure for discussion essays. We will work a little bit on paraphrasing, so what it is and what techniques we have for paraphrasing. We will learn some linking words and linking expressions in order to develop our argument and to make concessions. I will later tell you what a concession is. And we will use a range of vocabulary to discuss business and economics. So let's get started. First, we have this essay topic. Let's read it together. Some people believe that the activities of large multinational corporations mostly benefit the economies of developing countries. Other people take the opposite view and feel that these large multinationals are generally harmful. So we have two sides, benefit and harmful. And we need to discuss both views and give our opinion, right? So this is how I know this is a discussion essay. I'm going to underline the keywords in the question, but before I would like you guys to tell me what keywords I should underline from this question to help me focus my answer. You can type the answer in the chat box. So what are the keywords? Okay, benefit and harmful, yes, definitely, but we do need more keywords. Multinational, yeah. Okay. Yes, developing countries. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's right. All right. So yeah, the keywords would be, as you guys mentioned, large multinational corporations, benefit economies, developing countries, and harmful. And then we need to discuss both views and give our opinion. So remember that a discussion essay has three requirements, side one, side two, and your opinion. So 3 points we need to cover. All right, so we've read the question, we've underlined the keyword. Now we need to decide on our overall response. So what am I going to say? First, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the people who go with the first idea and write my plan or later my essay from their perspective. So why would they say that large multinational corporations are beneficial? And why harmful? So I'm going to start with beneficial. First of all, it helps create jobs. As a result, improved wages. As for harmful, it threatens local businesses and unfair, I would say, competition, right? These are, as you can see, I'm planning, so I'm not writing complete sentences. Instead, I'm just writing some keywords in order to remind myself what I'm going to write about, all right? And, well, it helps me save time. Instead of writing complete sentences, I write keywords. Okay, and I have written something for both sides, but I also need to give my personal opinion. I am going to go with the positive side or the beneficial side. So that's why you see the rectangle around the beneficial part. Okay, so let's see. I told you that I'm going to give you a simple structure you guys can use to deal with discussion essays. Let's see what that is, but I'm going to write it with your help. So I need an introduction paragraph, but how do I start my introduction paragraph? Safia, corporation means big companies. Corporation means companies. So what do I need to do with the question to start my introduction? Okay, let's get a couple of answers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. And Sahar, a hook not right at the beginning. Okay, so we need to paraphrase the question exactly in our own words. Of course, you can also write a general statement or the so-called hook, but I don't recommend that because more often than not, students write, let's say, general statements which are not directly related to the topic. And imagine your very first sentence is off topic, which means probably the rest of the essay is not going to be related to the topic. That's what I mean when I say off topic. So, simply put, just paraphrase the question in your own words. That is, say the same thing as the question in your own words. We are going to learn the techniques in a minute. After that, what do I need? I think Safia already said. Very good. Also, on what? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Very good. So I need a thesis statement, as some of you guys already mentioned. But what is a thesis statement? Mm-hmm. Hello, welcome, newcomers. So what is a thesis statement? Very good, Sahar, exactly. So the thesis statement is the sentence that tells the reader what my opinion is, right? So my opinion and also let's say kind of what I'm going to do in the rest of the essay. That's my thesis statement, okay? After that, in the IELTS test, we generally write two body paragraphs. Body one and body two. Obviously, body one, I need to deal with the first part of the question, which was beneficial. And the second part was harmful, right? So two paragraphs would be enough. But how do I start my body paragraph? What sentence do I need at the beginning? Very good. So I need a sentence that summarizes the main idea of that paragraph, right? So I need to write what we call a topic sentence. So the topic sentence is the sentence that summarizes the main idea of that paragraph, what I'm going to write about in that paragraph, right? So that's the topic sentence. What do I need after that? Obviously, I need to help me. I need to Okay, explain. It's a little bit soon for the example because first, very good. I need to support my topic sentence with some supporting sentences, explaining, in other words, what I mean by the topic sentence, right? A strong explanation or reasons, any way I can support my topic sentence. Obviously, then I need to give an example, exactly. So guys, remember, we don't write the example right at the beginning. First, I need to explain what I mean by the topic sentence, and then I give an example for it, right? I don't give the example and then the explanation. After that, I need to make, now this I introduced in the lesson aims, but I said I will explain later. Well, we could have Ayla and Jakob said conclusion, or let's call it a concluding sentence. That's also possible, right? But that's not my aim here. So for all kinds of essays, at the end of your body paragraph, you can include a concluding sentence summarizing what you said in that paragraph. But that's not what I'm looking for. Very good, Madeline. Counterpart opinion, or in other words, I need to make a concession. Now, what is a concession? Concession means Okay, I took one side, right? But of course, there are people who believe the opposite. So for a second, I admit that the other side of the argument can be correct as well. But let me show you an example, and there I will explain it better. Just remember that the concession means considering the opposite side of the argument, okay? And yes, Madeline, it's not so easy to write. Moving on to the conclusion. What do I need to do with the conclusion? Help me complete this, both viewpoints. Okay, very good. So I need to give a summary, right? That's what a conclusion paragraph does. So, very good. Be careful with the spelling of summary with Y at the end. Okay, so I need to summarize both viewpoints and then give, remember discussion essay has three sides. Well, let's say three parts, two sides, side one, side two, and then, very good, Ayla, my own opinion, right? So I repeat my opinion, whether I agree with the beneficial side or with the harmful side, okay? So this is the simple structure you can learn in order to answer this type of essay, that is discussion essays. Okay. Now, let's put it into practice. Let's write an essay using this structure, okay? Now, earlier I told you about the introduction, and I said that the introduction, we start by paraphrasing the question, and then we need a thesis statement and an outline sentence. So how do we paraphrase? Here on the left, you can see 4 techniques we can use in order to paraphrase. First is change voice. When I say voice in grammar, it means active and passive. So I can change an active sentence into passive or a passive sentence into active. Okay? Guys, save your questions. I will try to do a Q&A at the end. Okay? So don't forget your questions. Save them. I will answer them later or when I have the time to do it in the middle. Okay? So when I say voice, I mean changing an active sentence into passive or a passive sentence into active. Simply put, imagine that here I have some people believe that, right? Well, instead of saying some people believe that, which is, somebody tell me, is it active or passive? Some people believe. It is active, exactly. How can I turn it into passive? Just focus on this big sentence. How can I, if I were to start the sentence with it? Very good, Maisha, exactly. Very good, very good. Exactly. So I could simply say it is believed. So some people believe it is believed. That is change voice. Then synonyms. This one is the single most important technique for paraphrasing. Remember, we do all the others plus synonym. If we don't have synonym, even if you change the voice, you change word form, you change word order, it doesn't count. It does not count. You must have synonyms. So here I put a star next to it to show you that this is the most important part, plus changing voice, word form, and word order. And it goes without saying that by synonym, I mean words with the same meaning. Then I can also change word form. Word form, you know that words are nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, right? So when I change word forms, I change a verb into a noun. For example, again, you tell me, believe, is it a noun or a verb? Believe is a, verb. Okay. How can I change it into a noun? What's the noun form? Good job. It is belief and not believing. Exactly. So I simply changed the verb into a noun. That is change word form. Okay? And change word order. I can like change the order of the words from the end of the sentence to the beginning, from the beginning to the middle. As long as the meaning is the same and the grammar makes sense, I can change word order. So these are the 4 techniques we use for paraphrasing. Just for me to make sure which one is the most important one, without which you cannot claim that you have paraphrased. Okay. Very good. Synonyms. Synonyms. Okay, good job. Now, let's do it. I am going to, by the way, pay attention to the colors, okay? Because what I'm going to write is color coded. So, for example, if I use blue, it means it is, I'm looking for a synonym. If it is purple, I'm changing the word form, okay? So, help me. It is often, now it is red. So we are changing the voice. We've already done this. So let's move on. Yes, it is often believed that or argued that. I'm trying to use both synonym and change an active voice into passive. So it is believed that, then I change believe into argued. I can also, it is widely believed that, it is commonly suggested that. See, you can start your introduction with any of these or anything else that you want. These are just 3 suggestions, right? So instead of saying some people believe that, I can say it is often argued that, it is widely believed that, it is commonly suggested that. Sorry. Okay, the activities, I can go with actions, right? The actions of, instead of large, any ideas? What can I replace large with? Not immense, massive, numerous. We are not talking about numbers, Leah. Huge is a good paraphrase or a good synonym. So it is often argued that the actions of huge, instead of multinational, I want to write global. For corporations, what can I write? Global companies. Instead of benefit, please also pay attention to the grammar. Yeah, help would be easier. So huge global companies help the economies of developing, instead of countries. I'm going to write this, but then I'm going to make a counter argument here. Developing nations. But guys, I would like to point something out. Sometimes I do in my webinars. In country, you don't necessarily need to write a synonym for it, because nation is not a direct synonym for countries. Why? I'm going to read you the definition of nation in Longman Dictionary. Listen. A country considered especially in relation to its people and its social or economic structure, right? So it's mostly about the people than about the geographical place. So it's not a very good idea to replace countries with nations. But well, here I wanted to make more of a change. Yes, you will have access to the recording after the webinar. Anyways, I could also paraphrase like this. It is widely believed that multinational corporations are beneficial to the economies of developing countries. So you see what I did? I changed benefit into beneficial. What changes that? According to the list on the left? Exactly, I changed the word form from a benefit, which is a noun, to beneficial, which is an adjective, exactly. So beneficial to the economies of developing countries. Or in other ways, this time I want to change the word order. So I say it is commonly suggests that companies which are multinational instead of multinational corporations I say companies which are multinational. I change the order. Mostly benefit the economies of developing countries. Again, I can change the word order and say countries with developing economies. Countries with developing economies. So here you can see the changes, the 4 changes that I have made separately, but then I will put all of them together and will show you what my introduction, at least my first sentence would look like. In the first one, we used synonyms, blue. Second one, we used purple, like beneficial for word form. In the last one, we changed word order, okay? Thank you guys for the feedback. All right, now let's put everything together. Um, Exactly, Teddy. That's right. Paraphrasing means saying the same thing as the question using different words. What different words? Changing active, passive, synonyms, word form, noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and word order. So this is my final, let's say, paraphrase using all the techniques. So it is often argued that passive actions of huge global companies, synonym, are beneficial word form to countries with developing economies, word order. Let's continue. While now I want to create this contrast between the two sides, beneficial and the harmful side. While shows this contrast. While others believe that, you see I'm using synonyms. Now, these large multinationals are generally harmful. Before I show you my paraphrase, can you help me paraphrase it? Any ideas? Provide that. Okay. Mod, provide that for what word? Reckon. Reckon is quite informal. We are paraphrasing that underlined part. These large multinationals are generally harmful. Any ideas? Should. Okay, these companies have many negative effects. Thank you, Madeline. Valid. These lastest are generally impactful. What is lastest? Against. Okay. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna show you my paraphrase. So, have caused damage, Safia. That's better. Detrimental effect. Good collocation. James. Others believe that these are quite the opposite. Okay, quite informal, but fine. Okay, good. So I'm going to go with this. Others believe that these companies have a negative effect. A negative effect. And then remember, after I paraphrase the whole topic, I need to write a thesis statement, which means I need to take my side, whether I take the beneficial side or the harmful side, and then I need to tell the reader what I'm going to do. So I can do it like this. In my opinion, I believe that, now I need a linking word. You help me complete the sentence using correct linking words. I believe that blah, 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 multinational companies have some harmful impacts. They benefit the countries in which they do business. What do you think? Renowned. Sapir says, although multinational companies have some effects. Well, if I start with although, though, even though that I am seeing in the chat box, then I don't need but in the middle. But here I have two gaps. So, although multinational companies have some harmful impacts, effects and impact. Overall, they benefit the countries in which they do business. So remember, guys, very common mistake. If I start a sentence with although, in the middle, I don't use but or anything. Maybe this was like a trick question. Here, I say overall, means all in all, they benefit the countries in which they do business. Remember this. Okay, so this is my introduction. Paraphrase the question, write the thesis statement. Now, let's move on to my first body paragraph. In my first body paragraph, I'm going to talk about that's beneficial part. You remember my plan, let's say my keywords, create jobs and improve the wages, right? So I'm going to start like this. First, I need a topic sentence. What is a topic sentence? A sentence that summarizes the main idea of that paragraph. So I'm going to go with multinationals have a generally positive effect on the economies of developing countries. Now, by this, I'm showing that I'm going to talk about the positive effect or the beneficial effect. That is my topic sentence. Okay. Now, I can do it like this, add a linking phrase saying something like a growing body of research suggests that, and then write my rest, let's say rest of the sentence. Remember that again, the color codes, when we have the orange color, we have linking words and phrases, okay? To help me have a better flow. Let's say that way. About the although part, F, I said that when we start the sentence with although, we don't need but in the middle. That's a very common mistake among students. Although already means but, so you don't need but in the middle. Okay, let's move on. So, a growing body of research suggests that multinationals have a generally positive effect on the economies of developing countries. My topic sentence. Now, I need to say, okay, what is that positive effect that I'm talking about? Well, one key benefit is that international investment can help to create job for local people. That's my, let's say, bullet point in my plan. Can you help me complete it though? Help to create job. Job what? Yes, very good. Job opportunities for local people. This is my explanation of what I mean by that positive effect. So, what is the result? You see that here. I have used this arrow to show that like this is the result. So this can lead to, again, another linking phrase. To an what in wages, I need a noun that starts with a vowel sound. That's why I have an. Okay. We cannot say an extra because extra is an adjective. Very good. Everybody guessed. An increase in wages. Wage means your salary, your weekly income. There are differences between salary, income, wage, but wage is the money you get when you work. Let's put it that way. Okay. Now I want to give an example, taking Turkey as an example. I have to change the name of the country. Taking Turkey as an example. Now, employees of multinational companies earn around 15% more than what of local companies? Madeline, both. After help, we use simple form of the verb or to plus verb. Simple form is more common, but both are correct. Okay, more than staff of local companies, right? So staff means the people who work for a company. This was my example. Now, pay careful attention. Remember we talked about concession and I said concession is you considering the other side of the argument and creating a contrast. So it's here. While wage growth is only one indicator of economic health, it is clear that international companies can contribute to a country's development. So what is happening here? I'm creating a contrast, right? I'm saying that, okay, my paragraph is about beneficial, about the effect being beneficial. So while wage growth is only one indicator of economic health, what is the other side? International companies can contribute to countries' development. You see that my counter, that is this second part of the sentence, is in line with my paragraph. My paragraph is talking about, let's say, positive effect, beneficial, I don't know, contribution in other words. And I'm mentioning this here. Remember this. Indicator means sign. So indicator of economic health means the sign of economic health. And Katerina, actually, I would say do not think of something like this. It's better not to write examples with percentages that we have no way of substantiating, right? Exactly, Eunice. I'm sorry if I'm not reading the names properly, but yes, personal experiences and examples are better than creating fake statistics than this. So I have no way of knowing exactly in Turkey 15%. Even if I am Turkish, I couldn't substantiate this. So it's better not to do this. Just go with examples of things that you've heard around, something like that. Otherwise, don't create fake statistics. Okay. Um, can we use non-factual examples? Shah Jahan, yeah, as long as you don't create fake statistics numbers and then associate them with, I don't know, the New York Times and something like that. Okay, so let's move on. Notice the linking words. I've already pointed them out. Notice the verb forms. I'm using simple present to describe facts. I'm using modal verbs such as can, right, in order to show the possible effect of something. Notice the vocabulary, which would be considered higher level, so generally positive effect, collocation, international investment, collocation, create job opportunities, collocation, indicator of economic health, collocation. So this is a good paragraph and it has all the requirements of, let's say, the first body paragraph that I introduced in the structure. That is topic sentence, explain example, and concession. Okay. Collocation, Teddy, I would have to say this maybe later because we did have a webinar about collocations. Simply put, collocations are words that usually go together, but that is a topic for another time. Let's move on to body two. And Muhammad, collocation like this. I wrote it in the chat, not collection. My second body paragraph should focus on the harmful part, right? Because we have two sides. According to my plan, I'm going to talk about the fact that it threatens local businesses and the result would be unfair competition, okay? I don't know if you guys saw the word collocation I wrote in the chat, just in case I write it here. Okay, so let's start with the topic sentence. Again, linking words are in orange. However, there are also negative, which must be considered. Help me. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with impact. Effect would have been correct. Influence, any other synonym for this would have been fine. So there are also negative impacts which must be considered. Now, I need to explain what negative impact. I want to introduce this threatens local businesses. So I say one important issue meaning harmful, is that multinational companies can take what from local companies? Take, well, threaten is a verb. Nevertheless, instead of however, yeah, but and nevertheless is quite uncommon, so why would you use it? Can take customers from local companies, right? Market scale is too specific. Okay, so customers from local companies. What does this mean? What's the effect of this? When I introduce something, I need to explain it further. You cannot just say, take customers away. How? Why? What's the result? I need to explain this. So this means that some local businesses are likely to what down? Uh-huh. We don't need ing. Do we have do down? Uh-huh. Okay. The best one is close down or shut down. That's is also a possibility. Okay. Yeah, to close down. Shoot down, no. But shut down, yeah. Okay, so this means that some local businesses are likely to close down. For instance, global chains such as Watts and Coca-Cola, I'm going to go with McDonald's because there are many, many international global chains, let's say global chains, such as McDonald's and Coca-Cola have a much larger what for advertising? Larger, uh-huh, good, good, good. Very good. Also KFC. That's why I said like there are many words we can put instead of McDonald's, but yes, budget for advertising, right? Audience we don't usually use for like this context. Audience is a person who's let's say watching a movie, something like that. Okay, what is the result? Allowing them to increase their market what at the expense of local restaurants? Local audience? No, not local audience. We're talking about money and things related to that. Oops. Their market share at the expense of local restaurants. Exactly. Now, you guys remember the concession, meaning we say something, we consider the other side of the argument, and then we attack it, right? So to create that contrast, I use the word however. There are also negative impacts, which must be, wait a second. Okay. Did I make a mistake in? Okay. All right. So here, increase their market share at the expense of local restaurants. That's where we were. We guessed the word share. Now I want to make the concession. How do we do that? Although competition is often seen as a key of economic growth, key component, okay, factor is also key factor, yeah, okay. Now I want to use a synonym and I'm going to go with driver of economic growth means it drives and meaning it's like pioneer, not driving a vehicle to push something, let's say. All right. So is a key driver of economic growth. This is my opposite side. Now I need to say something which is in line with what I've been saying in this paragraph. It can be argued that these large companies have an unfair what over small businesses? Key point. Okay, Safia, that's better. Teddy, Raja, okay. Yeah, I would go with advantages, Fahmi. Have an unfair advantage over small businesses, which can lead to what is the effect of having this advantage? The formation of monopolies. I don't know if you guys have played Monopoly, the game. What does Monopoly mean? Just two, three words. Yes, Jacob. Okay. One side, Madeline. Power on all leader. Okay. Yeah, so monopoly means having complete control over something, right? So, for example, one group has complete control over a specific industry. That is monopoly, which is not a good thing. So, yes. Now, notice lead linking words. I've already pointed them out. Let's take a look at the word forms. I've used simple present to describe facts, such as are likely, is often seen, which is also passive, and have. Modal verbs for possible effect, because I cannot be sure about everything. So it can, let's say, take customers from local companies, can lead to the formation of monopolies. I cannot be sure. Can be argued. It's always a good idea to use modal verbs to have variety in your grammar. Notice the vocabulary. Negative impacts, which must be considered. So I would put the must be considered part as good grammar, negative impact as collocation. Global chains, very good collocation. Larger budget, so budget meaning money, large budget, again a collocation. Increase their market share, so market share, and then it goes with the verb increase. A key driver of economic growth, so economic growth, one collocation, key driver, and knowing the word driver in this context. And also the formation of monopolies. Monopoly is not a word that everybody knows. Okay, so this is my second body paragraph, including topic sentence, explanation, example, and concession. Now, let's get to the last paragraph. Safia, I would say that yes, it is. Okay, now, what do I do in the conclusion? In the conclusion, yes, Rim, I will show you the complete essay when I finish the conclusion paragraph, okay? So, in my conclusion paragraph, I need to summarize both sides, that's the beneficial side and the harmful side, and, well, including my main points and my opinion, right? So, I start with a linking word that shows conclusion, that is, in conclusion. Anna, I don't even know what MNC is, so I would say no. And you are not allowed to use abbreviations and acronyms. Okay, so in conclusion, while multinationals can benefit developing countries through creating jobs, that was the main idea of my first body paragraph, talking about the fact that it is beneficial, right? And then I said creating jobs. Guys, save your questions. All right, I will answer them later. Let me finish this. Okay. They can also, now it is my second side, which was negative. I use the word while to show this contrast between them, right? So they can also threaten small businesses. This was my main idea of second paragraph. Now, I need to give my opinion. It's a discussion essay. I not only mentioned the two sides, that is beneficial because of creating jobs and harmful because of threatens the small businesses. I need to give my opinion as well. And I've already mentioned this opinion in my introduction, saying the benefits. Now I need to repeat that. So in my opinion, despite having some negative effects, no, I know, definitely not. Having some negative effects, I believe multinational corporations are generally beneficial. That's my final take on the matter. Now, if I have any final comment or recommendation, I can add that, although it is not necessary. So I would personally finish my conclusion here. Summarize the 2 points, give my opinion. That's it. But optional is writing a final comment or recommendation. But be very careful with this. That's why I say I don't recommend it, is that this recommendation or final comment cannot be something totally new because it's the conclusion paragraph and we are not allowed to write something which is totally new. So if it is something in line with what you've been saying earlier, do that, write it. If not, don't. Just as an example here we have, however, I would argue that governments should regulate their impact in order to protect and support local businesses. Good, because it is in line with what I've been saying earlier, but like I said, optional, you don't have to do it. Notice the linking words that I'm using. in conclusion, while, they can also, in my opinion, despite, and the rest. What is the final product? Voila, you have this. We have the introduction. To have a short recap, we have the introduction, including the paraphrase of the question. That's my first sentence, right? Until here. Then I need a thesis statement, giving my opinion and my outline. So in my opinion, I believe. I need two body paragraphs. Body one, I focus on the first part, which is beneficial. Body two, on the harmful effects. I need to write a topic sentence suggesting or signaling what I'm going to talk about. So growing body of research suggests that multinationals have a generally positive effect. What is that positive effect? I am explaining it, giving an example for it, making a concession and countering it. Yes, Divine, I will do that. Wait. The second body paragraph, the same thing. Topic sentence, introducing negative effects, then explaining it. Okay, what is that negative effect? What is the result of that negative effect? Then I write an example, then again, concession. So I have a word that shows contrast, and then I counter it. In my conclusion, I'm mentioning the two sides, that is benefit, which is creating jobs, the negative point, which was threatening small businesses. Then I will include my opinion. And finally, I would write a recommendation, which is not used, which is not necessary. You can have it or not. Okay? And final comments. Don't start writing right away. Make a plan. Save like 5-10 minutes to plan everything. You don't have to count the words. Just count the first line, the number of words you have in the first line. Multiply that by the number of sentences. You will have like an estimation of your number of words. Practice with official IELTS answer papers. So if you, especially if you want to take the paper-based module, it's a good idea to print out, the writing answer sheet and, write on that. After a while, you know how many lines you need to write in order to reach 250. At the end, spend some time checking your work for grammar, spelling, and everything. And, well, practice, practice, practice.